by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. All right. Let's see. Old business. We need to define the secretary for our next meeting that's going to be decided tonight. Any volunteers? Heather's not joining us, nor Cindy. Walter, Jake?
Is Jake not doing the minutes tonight?
We need to. Who's doing the minutes?
At the last meeting, it said that Jake was doing them at the next meeting.
Are you here, Jake? Jake? Don't know where he is.
Yeah, I'm here, right? Sorry, that was a little spotty. I'm trying to see if I can improve my connection.
All right. Are you going to take the minutes, Jake?
What's that? I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay. Are you going to take the minutes for tonight?
Oh, I'm not sure if I would be the one to do that. I'm trying to get this connection working. I can't really. It's kind of going in and out. I might have to call in on my phone here.
All right.
It was working wonderfully, but now that we kind of started, it's going in and out. So I don't know if I would be the one to take the minutes.
Walter, do you feel like taking the minutes?
Sure, why not?
All right, thanks. Just let me know when you're ready.
Sure, go ahead, Angela.
All right.
Let me just get enough paper, actually, so if I have paper here. Okay, go ahead.
You ready?
Sure.
Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from 2:18 and 3:3? That's Bob on 2:18 and Heather's minutes on 3:3.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any problems with them?
I'm good. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Okay. So do we vote to accept the minutes as they are written?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Seconded. Second.
Thank you. Minutes.
We're having another meeting after this? I
I
mean,
think we're gonna have to, I talked to Mike, and we really have to get in on this writing for the Board of Selectmen, a report. So,
okay, so we should, do we need to vote on who's gonna take the minutes next time?
yeah. Well, it probably should be
Jake? I
Jake,
vote for
he's
Jake.
going in and out. Do we vote for Jake?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
so 3-0 for Jake?
yeah.
Okay.
Hang on just a second. Chris? Bob is here. Sorry, that's my husband coming in from work. All right, old business.
Thanks, guys.
Are you here? All right, we're gonna take stock, outcomes from the summer. Does anyone have any comments on that? It was kind of a weird summer.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I thought it was really quiet, at least music-wise.
Okay.
There were some episodes. I'm getting feedback.
I am too, but we'll just.
Okay, so there were some episodes down at the port, I think in June time with some loud music, but that ended pretty early on and pretty much been a ghost town ever since. Except for apparently some outdoor dining noise crowd noise. And I didn't personally see that, but I've seen a bunch of reports from people that have. So that's a little disconcerting.
Okay. I didn't hear any noise down here from music or anything like that, because there wasn't any. But in terms of the other complaints, the chief was meant to join this meeting. I would like to have heard from him, but he hasn't joined it, so I'm not sure where to go with that.
It looks like he's right there.
Oh, here he is. Oh, you're on mute?
Yes, can everybody hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
This is painful. Oh my God, Chief.
Just let me know.
Chief, can you speak on any complaints or violations that occurred during the summer?
Yeah, I follow.
The way this works best, when somebody's trying to talk, everybody else has to move.
Ah, okay.
Did everybody hear that? So Angela being the chair, I would recommend Angela can keep hers live, but everybody else has to mute, because if somebody even has a noise in the background, it will interrupt the audio of the person speaking. Did everybody hear that?
Yes.
Okay. See how that seems a little better?
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, so you wanted me to comment on violations this summer?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I did a complete review of violations this summer season, as many of you are aware. Or if you're not, I will tell you right now that this was a very, very challenging season for the police department. Between everything that's going on across the country, and with the pandemic, and with our usual influx of people in the summertime, it was an extremely difficult summer season for us. So I just want to frame it with that. With that being said, the noise complaints that resulted from drinking establishments were basically cut in half. Compared to last year. Last year, I think we responded to roughly 49 complaints. Some were determined alleged violations, some were not. But 49 last year. This year was 22. Okay, 22. What was different this summer season is that I think people were, and I think it was a result of being quarantined for so long from March, but people were kind of going crazy. We had a lot of problems in the port early on in the season that caused me to call the ABC, that's the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, and speak to one of their agents and request that he come in and do checks whenever he could, with no agreed upon dates. And I also spoke to my operations lieutenant. We put extra controls on in the Harwich Port area when we could on overtime, during the height of the hours down there, which was the trouble, which was basically between 10 and 2 a.m. We managed to fill some of those. We didn't order people onto those shifts, but that was an option that I decided to go because of the issues that were occurring down the port. But I know this is a noise community, so we really should only be talking about noise, maybe other liquor license or COVID violations, and those are it as far as the police department goes on foot, right? As far as noise, this year, obviously, people from C Street and from the port on 28 are painfully aware of this, that the extension of the licensees into their parking lots caused a substantial amount of patron noise to be put out into the neighborhoods that was not ordinarily there before. So, a large number of these complaints that came in to the police department related to patron noise, which is different for us because ordinarily it's related to entertainment music. Now, some of them are music, but the difference here was a lot of them were related to patronize, crowds cheering, yelling, etc., being unruly, that type of thing. I think that's the issue that I'm going to have to take up directly with the board, because that's an exception of the licensing regulations. With a venue becomes the focus of police attention, then the licensing authority can take action on their license. So that's a very brief rundown as to what we faced this summer. Obviously, it's tapering off now, but the complaints were roughly half as a result of what was definitely a unique season with a lot of different issues.
All right, great, thanks, Chief. So what I heard is that the noise complaints were cut in half in terms of what we are interested in, you know, the music, that type of thing, and that the other type of complaints were you're going to deal with directly with the board?
Well, I think my own personal opinion, this is why I talk to members of the board to determine this and the charge of this committee, but I think it does purview this committee because patron noise is noise. But in the past, we have simply focused on noise from outside and inside entertainment, that type of thing. So this was new, you know, this new thing this year. I just want to get a little clarification, and maybe you can too. We'll speak to Michael.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Wait a minute, Chief. I have a question. Is the patron noise the same? It's the same standard, right? You have to go and be 150 feet away and listen for patron noise.
You know, that's a good question, Walter. But the patron noise really is a different answer because it's under the entertainment license that the 150-foot rule was put into effect. Noise bylaw, which covers everybody that's not licensed to serve alcohol, does cover like loud outcries and yelling, things of that nature. But I think in the drinking establishment, it's going to cover the liquor license regulations, which are, if there are disturbances or it becomes the focus of police attention, then that's the standard. I don't think it's, I don't think 150-foot rule is probably reasonable to say that would apply. I'm concerned it's going to.
Right, because it's not tied to any, you don't, somebody parking in the parking lot making noise, you don't know where they're from exactly. They're probably from one of the establishments, but you don't know which ones. You couldn't really cause a violation on an establishment. It would just be basically on the, I guess, the businesses in the area.
Well, some of our complaints were submitted by Bob, and I don't know if you folks had a chance to see that, but that's straight from under one of the tents. And so there's no question where the crowd noise is coming from.
Yeah, sure. I'm not the ones from the parking lot or people on the street or whatever. Okay, well, that makes sense. So the ones we're concerned about are the ones that come out of directly from the establishments.
But if it can be identified, then that's a concern. We'll take action on the license if it becomes a focus of police attention.
Okay, thank you.
Brad, do you have anything to add? You're on.
No, I guess the only thing about this summer that was a little bothersome to me is the establishments, the houses that are now being rented out to much larger groups of people. I was talking to somebody in West Harwich who apparently there was a house that rented out for most of the summer that sleep 16 people. And there was a lot of noise from that. Me personally, Stepping Stones, you know, the place that I complain about, you know, the first time I couldn't sleep one night and I think I'm probably a couple hundred yards from the source of the noise. This is a house that rents out for weddings now. And I told the owner, it's COVID, I'm giving you the first one, but you got to tell your people it's not acceptable. And so the second time, there was no music, way too loud. I called the police on them. I have asked the police twice for the report, and I haven't got the report back. I don't know what happened. I assumed the police went, but the music was never turned down. As a matter of fact, it played for half an hour more than what they told the owners it was going to play for. And there's other places here in Harwich Port where large homes are being turned into places for events. And I don't know what they fall under for the noise committee, but it's something I think we, if they're serving alcohol, they're serving alcohol. I went over twice to both of these. Nobody had a mask on. Nobody was social distancing. I'd like to know if there's anything that we can be recommending to the board if homes are being turned into wedding venues in residential areas.
Honestly, I don't know. I have no idea, Fran, about that, because we've just been concentrating on establishments that have a liquor license. So I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
And I think just in terms of trying to get our report together, we need to continue to focus on that.
Yeah.
These homes, if they don't have a liquor license, I would assume that they just bring in their own personal alcohol.
They have caterers that have liquor licenses.
Well, probably, but I don't know that. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I can talk to our liaison about that, but that's the first I'm hearing about this.
No, I've talked about it in the past. I think they come under the noise ordinance.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but if they're private homes, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd like to pursue it a little bit, and ask what that.
Why don't you make that your homework if you want to look to us?
Yeah, but I'd like to know I would like to know if Michael thinks this comes under if you think this comes under this committee in any way.
Well, why don't you email it to me and I'll forward it on. Why don't we do that? So we can kind of move on here. Jake, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, it was definitely a quiet summer. Very hard to adjust to COVID rules and such alone, let alone even worry about live music. Definitely, it was requested highly often from all our patrons. If you want my point of view, a lot of people were missing that this summer. I'm sure all the people who do not like the music were not missing it one bit, and we're pretty happy with this summer. But as far as like a business that has done really well when we have live music and when things are normal, in a year where it was very tough, it was it was just a hard year to even consider music or noise or anything, because we're so busy dealing with everything else.
What's going on?
I kind of want to weigh in. I think I'm going to.
Okay.
Who wants to weigh in?
Let me know when you want to eat.
Hi, this is Mary Alvis from West Harwich. Can I weigh in?
No public comment yet. This is the board committee meeting. Public comment will be at the end of the meeting.
Angela?
Yeah?
Can I speak comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I took a look at the guard again, and it looks pretty big. I think I have another room somewhere.
You can turn on the light, Bob.
So the charge doesn't have to go on the screen, but we don't have to go into it. Looks like the charge pretty open. I'm not coming through.
I can hear you. I don't know if anyone else can.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Bob.
I can hear you a little bit, Bob.
Okay, so the charge looks like it's pretty open. It's not specific about us tackling music, but in fact, that's what we've done, you know, the entertainment licenses. So that's our history. That's what we've got most of our discussions about. The other stuff, maybe we do that as a follow-on. The crowd noise, we'll get into it a little bit. So maybe we can, the chief, over the next session or two, learn what we can and can't do, what he takes back from the selectmen.
Hold on, Bob, you're really hard to understand. Angela, can you mute when Bob's talking? It might make it better. Just try it.
I was muted.
Do you still have a quorum if I leave for a few minutes? You have a quorum?
No, go ahead.
I can go home?
No,
Okay,
whatever you need to do.
Yeah, bye-bye. I'll be back.
You're muted, Angela.
There we go. I think Bob is going to run home because we're getting feedback here. All right, Bob. Thank you. I'd see you out, but. All right. So I think we can move on a little bit without Bob. So the next on the agenda, so we went over the violations and complaints with the chief. Effects of the pandemic were pretty bad on everybody. I'm really happy we don't have any empty storefronts like a lot of towns, so that was good. And the businesses that were in violation last year have been sanctioned, is that correct? Chief?
No, that's not correct. We couldn't get through the hearings. There was technical difficulties. So the violations that were brought before the board, there's still a couple of hearings pending.
Okay, but those are in the works?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, we had discussed a mandatory attendance at liquor license meetings, but apparently that's not something that is that something we can suggest, or is that up to you and the ABCC?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, Chief, that's for you.
Your attendance at liquor license meetings?
Yes.
Hearings or?
You know, you have a meeting at the beginning of the year, don't you? Going over all the the policies of liquor licenses and all that?
Yes, that's my meeting. I have no problem with members of the Noise Containment Committee attending.
Okay, all right. Then we were thinking about, and this is for the board, banning noise enhancers, cowbells, karaoke games, getting the crowd involved with sing-alongs. Is that something we want to put into our report, board members or committee members?
I would assume so, sure.
I would assume, yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to get feedback from everybody, so.
Is that,
Is that workable, Jake? Do you agree? Jake? I don't know where Jake is, but I don't think I'll have a problem with that, but I'll double check with him when he comes back on. Then there had been a suggestion of posting of phone numbers by venues. I think that was Bob's suggestion. I'm not quite sure. Does anyone remember? Fran, do you remember what he meant by that?
No, and we don't even officially have a quorum right now as you're talking.
That's true. He's on his way home.
So I think you need to wait until he's back
Yeah,
on.
you're right. He's about 2 minutes up the road, so we'll wait till he logs back on.
While we're waiting, Angela,
Here I
just have okay, Bob's back, good.
So I'm Marcia now, but I hope to get my own computer back in a minute. All I was saying was before was that Fran's points are, I looked at the charge and it's pretty wide open about whether we can, what noise we're addressing. So Fran's issues may well be within our charge, but we haven't really done any work on it. So crowd noise also may well be within our charge. We haven't done much work on it. We started a little bit. We've got some, started to get our feet wet with that. So maybe when Chief comes back from talking with the board about crowd noise and that sort of thing, maybe we can see if it's appropriate. But right now, I think all the work we've done so far is chiefly about entertainment noise. And that's what I think my sense is that that's what we should go forward with and concentrate on, and then maybe address the other stuff as additional areas for investigation and study, that kind of thing.
Okay. So when you were on the route home, we were...
Oh, you get your thing, Marcia.
What's that? We were going over like no sing-alongs, no cowbells, no nothing like that, to put into our recommendations for the Board of Selectmen.
I missed that. The computer was muted. Something about cowbells and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We discussed this before, like getting, no sing-alongs, no karaoke, that type of stuff, cowbells.
Yeah, in that email from Laurel today, Laurel Boulogne, she mentioned that one of the venues had, after hours, they had a cell phone playing music. And I think that kind of thing has to be eliminated too, because it gets the crowd worked up, and the same problem as sing-along, basically.
Right, okay. That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Anyone have to say anything on that?
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm going to switch back over to my own account.
So Angela, question. So the chief said there were 22 call complaints, but how many violations did we have?
Chief?
We didn't put any violations up to the board.
Okay, thank you.
There were a lot of, oddly enough, complaints of music, and by the time the officers arrived, they were putting more music playing. We did talk about one cell phone issue. But yeah, no complaints, no ordinance violation complaints went up to the board this season.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Bob, can you refresh our memories on the posting of phone numbers by venues?
Yeah. Well, the app thing, I think still has viability. I think it facilitates good. I'm getting feedback from my computer. Yeah, so I think okay, so the app thing still is viable. It records can you hear me? Is this
Not very good, Bob. I think what we're trying to get at is, I think there should be a phone number that can be called every night with somebody that's on premise. Angela, you're muted.
Yeah, prior to calling the police. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, just something if however you get it out there, whether it be at the police station or just I mean, if you can, I mean, a lot of times those numbers are available if somebody wants to get it.
Right.
But somebody on site has to, with authority, has to be able to, be talked to.
Right. Well, I know that the premises in Harwich Fort generally have an owner or a manager or both on duty, so I don't think that's too big of a deal.
Well, unless that person is so busy working that when their cell phone rings, they don't hear it, or they certainly don't have, they're going to say, I'm too busy to answer that right now. So there has to be somebody on the premises who will answer the phone if the phone is ringing.
Right. Well, I don't have a problem with that. I have no experience with them not answering the phone. I mean, we've made reservations on busy nights and people answer the phone. So I'm not sure if that's even an issue. So, but that we can make that as a suggestion and make everybody aware of it for the establishments. There you are, Bob. All right. Okay, so that could be a good suggestion. Anyone have to, Jake, are you there with us? If Jake isn't, I don't know if Jake is not here. I don't know.
If he's not here, do we have a quorum?
4, 1, 2, yeah, we do.
Okay,
it just says that Jake left.
I'm back. My internet's going in and out, guys. I'm doing my best here.
Okay, did you just hear our last discussion about the telephones? The telephone number?
Yeah, and I saw that in the. I mean, we had no actions.
You are cutting in and
This
out.
summer, and if a patron turned music on their phone, I'm the person out quiet. Can you hear me better now?
Yes. We were talking about having like a phone number if someone had a complaint about the volume that they could call into, knowing that a manager and or owner would pick it up and address the issue. Is that, as someone who's a manager, is that a workable situation? Jake? Jake?
Okay, I mean, the port's phone number is, like, if anyone ever called, the manager will be answering.
Right, okay. All right, so that's a good suggestion we could put forward.
Can I just?
Anyone have anything to say on that?
Bob?
Yeah.
So that app thing, I don't want to encourage it because I did it, but I think it has some potential that we could present to the board as an alternative or an additional idea. What it does is it, the big advantage is that it records, that's my cat, sorry. Stupid cat. So so the advantage is it records every call. It doesn't record the call itself, it records who made the call and the fact that the call was made. And one of the problems you had with it earlier, Angela, was that there wasn't a quick and easy way for someone to get back. So in fact, there is. So when the text goes out to the receiving person, the phone number from who it came is in the text also, and that can easily be clicked. It adds a layer of complication that maybe we don't need, but it does have some advantages, potentially. So I just want to add that in.
Excuse me, Bob?
Yeah.
Are you talking about your software? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that form stack.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I like that.
Didn't we vote on that?
No, we didn't vote. We didn't get to a vote. You shot it down.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably shoot it down again, but certainly we can. It's, it's not my committee by myself, so it just seems like another layer,
Right.
that
Right.
I'm not against, having people call into a business. I mean, you should be able to do that. And, some people don't use computers and iPhones and all that type of thing. So, I don't know. That's
Again,
just my
remember,
opinion.
we're just making suggestions to the Board of Selectmen, so let them be the ones to decide.
Yeah.
If-
Okay. Where are we now? What, Bob, when you did this, you said proactive enforcement, particularly in last hour performances. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, that was actually a suggestion by Bob Nickerson, if I remember. But it's, well, maybe it was me, because I'm completely with him. What happens is, what I've seen, not this year, but certainly the year before and the year before that, is that in the last hour, last half hour, musicians tend to go into their finales. And so I'm getting ready, putting on my PJs at 9:15 and calling to bed at 9:30, and the music starts getting louder and louder. And you want to go call the police, or you can't call the venue, because calling them, it takes like 15 minutes if you're lucky to get through. Calling the police, they're busy. And by the time, the calling is just not an option at that point, anyone. And so the idea was, and I think Bob Nickerson spoke to this last time or the time before, was that maybe we could get some proactive enforcement, get the police out there at that 9 to 10 range, make sure that things aren't getting heated up, and rather they're starting to slow down a bit. I think that's what Bob Nickerson was saying, and that's kind of how I see it.
Okay. I don't know. Chief, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, we tossed that around a little bit, and that was kind of the intent to put people in extra patrol on foot or on bike or on cruiser this past summer. But to be honest with you, it wasn't so much the noise issue as it was the other issues of like open container and rowdy, intoxicated people and things of that nature. So we can certainly talk further on it. Proactive is sometimes difficult, but we can certainly continue to work on it. I mean, if the officers are there, they should, and it's clearly getting louder, then they should take action.
Thank you. Sounds good. Okay.
So maybe that could be a recommendation that we would make, just like a line item on our report type of thing.
Yeah, I think so. If the chief feels that that's something that might be able to be accomplished, that'd be fine. What do you mean?
I'm not going to tell the police how they do their job.
No, but it could be a suggestion.
Yeah.
And if the chief
Again,
doesn't have a problem with that suggestion.
They got a lot of things to do.
Again, we're just making suggestions to the Board of Selectmen. It's a good suggestion.
Okay. Hang on. All right. Thank you. All right. Ben, Bob, you put revisit plain audible definition. We already voted. And have this, the meeting March 3rd. We already
Yeah.
voted to use the definition that we already have.
Yeah, so.
Did you look at others' minutes?
Pardon?
Did you look at Heather's minutes? I know it was back in March.
No, I'm completely, I know we talked about it. This was on the agenda from last time. And there are two things I wanted to bring up. I missed the discussion about I don't know if you guys went into the packet and the going over of the violations and the hearings. One of the things that I noticed in one of those pages on the hearings was that the lawyer and the town administrator, Mr. Powers, were going back and forth, or the two lawyers are going back and forth about the plainly audible definition. So it became pretty evident that a plainly audible definition would have helped in that situation at the hearing. Not having one is pretty difficult. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that we have, as a committee, talked about plainly audible. There are a number of functions or uses of plainly audible. One is it's a convenient way of detecting noise because every enforcement agent has a pair of ears that they can easily detect it. And with definition, it can be refined. Second, it can measure volume when added to distance. It's an effect of a proxy for volume. But what we haven't talked about, and this is well established throughout the country, is what is plainly audible is also a measure of nuisance. And we haven't gone into that. And what I find disturbing is that a nuisance, a noise violation that occurs at place X and is being investigated under the bylaw is not regarded as a nuisance. The same exact noise is not regarded as a nuisance under the entertainment law. Now that seems nonsensical because it's the same amount of noise and it's the same amount of nuisance. And by virtue of having by virtue of how the entertainment license came into being and the dropping of the plainly audible definition, we have widely different interpretations of what is nuisance, and that's for residents. I don't think that's supportable. It's just wrong. So I want to put that out there.
Okay, all right.
And I'd like to add to that we were charged to come up with a definition of plainly audible that works. And as a committee, we haven't done that yet. And I think we're struggling, but I think it's the key to everything. That we have to report to the Board of Selectmen is there has to be a definition of plainly audible so that any lawyer, any police officer knows if the music is plainly audible or not. They have to have a definition that works. And the complaints this summer, or that hearing that Bob referred to, indicates that we have not done that. And it's something we really need to hash out more than just saying we're going to keep the definition that doesn't work because we can't come up with a definition that does work. So I think it's really important that we do this. Otherwise, we're not fulfilling our charge.
Fran, the problem I have is as I've stated before, is anything over other than I can hear it, which is plainly audible, you can't define it over that level. You know what I mean? From where I can't hear it to hear it. Well, how much can I hear it? It's just, it's impossible. So, we voted on this saying we're going to go with what's there unless we vote to with the other board members that voted on it, when they come back to revisit it, I don't think we should be revisiting it. Unfortunately, because if there was a better way to say what is plainly audible besides I can hear it, I'd be willing to listen. That's just my thought.
Okay, so if I can hear something, what do you say it has to be? I have to be able to understand the words?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm leaving it up to the discretion of the police.
Yeah, and
that's the problem.
that's the problem, because each police officer, whoever's on duty that night, is going to have to decide if it's plainly audible or not.
That's always going to be.
It's always been the case because we haven't been able to give them. If you can hear it, I mean, if you can hear it, is it plainly audible? Well, Walter, if I can hear something, I can hear it.
Exactly, I agree.
And it works for the bylaw.
And it works
Right.
for the bylaw, right?
And what
I just want to make sure Jake is in on this also. Are you still with us, Jake?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we already voted on this, so it kind of seems redundant, but I
just want to make sure that your internet's working there, or your Wi-Fi.
No, I can hear you guys, yeah. I'm here.
Okay.
We voted on it, but we haven't followed our charge. We were charged to come up with a definition that would work, and we haven't done that. And that's why I think Bob brought this back onto the agenda, and why I think we need to discuss it. We need to discuss it more.
Additionally, I also, it also plays, I did that noise survey, and you can see the effect of it there. And so maybe we can talk about it a bit more. I'm encouraging you guys to keep an open mind about this. I think it's really critical for making residents feel like they have a workable compromise. Without that, it feels like the only justifications for not doing it is that business interests supersede residents. And I don't hear any other justification for not having a plainly audible definition. And if it's the case that business interests supersede residents' interests, then I don't see a compromise ever coming out of this committee. I don't mean to be harsh, but it's just.
I don't think it's harsh, it's your opinion.
Yeah, and you know, why did this committee form? It formed, I believe, because residents complained about the level of noise. And what have we done to lower the volume of noise so that residents are happy? And saying, well, no cowbells, no blah, blah, blah. We still, without coming up with a definition of plainly audible, we haven't lowered the level, the volume of noise. We haven't had the businesses and the residents, with our help, come together to compromise. And you know, I work as a mediator. A compromise is when a good compromise is when neither party is happy with what you come up with, but they can live with it.
So get your committee of business owners together, along with the residents who complain, and work out an acceptable answer.
And work out an acceptable answer, exactly. And maybe what we need to do is to take a business owner, or one or two business owners, and one or two residents with a mediator, and say what can we come up with that would satisfy, that would make that both sides can live with. I looked at the noise containment.
That could be a suggestion. That could be a suggestion we vote on.
I looked at this committee as being the mediator.
We don't have business. We don't have any businesses We don't have any businesses in here except for Jake, who's on the committee as a citizen and not as a representative of the port. So it's not. We're not a mediator.
Yeah, he represents the businesses.
Well, I mean, I'm a resident as well, so
Yeah,
grew up here as well. So I try and stay very unbiased here. I just give my honest opinion about everything.
Jake, I've never seen you say anything unbiased.
All right, Fran, all right.
No.
But anyway, I think what we need is to get a couple business owners and a couple residents together with a mediator and see if this committee hasn't been able to do it, maybe with a mediator, they can hash out a plainly audible definition.
Okay, Angela, I suggest we put into the vote here as a suggestion that they possibly have a mediation session between the business owners, every single one of them, and residents, whoever they agree to represent them or a group of them, to have a meeting. That's all.
You'd have the same number: 2 business owners, 2 residents, 3 business owners.
There's more than 2 business owners in this town.
They would have
There's Platter, there's there's the Irish pub, there's all these other businesses that have entertainment. You'd have to,
You have to have everybody involved.
But you still have a couple representatives from both sides. Sit down with a mediator and see what they can hash out to come up with a definition of plainly audible.
Well, you know what I'll do is I will email our liaison tomorrow and get some feedback on that. How's that?
I wasn't. Fran, my suggestion wasn't to come up with a definition of plainly audible. It was to come up with a definition of what will work for both parties. So is it, you can have music Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you can't have it the rest of the week. That's a compromise there, not the definition of plainly audible. They could do that too if they wanted to.
Yeah, they might be able to do that. If we haven't been able to do it, see what kinds of compromises they come up with. Yeah.
I'll put that forward to our liaison. I'm not sure if that's something that can happen, that the Board of Selectmen want to deal with or not. I have no idea. Ron, I put that forward tomorrow to him, and I'll email everybody with what I get back. Will that work?
Sure.
Do you understand how mediation works, Angela?
Fran, don't be condescending. Of course I do.
No, that wasn't condescending. That was just a serious question. Because if you wanted me to talk.
Yes, I will put it forward to our liaison tomorrow.
Okay.
See what he has to say about it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's see what's next on our agenda here.
Correspondence?
Oh yeah, correspondence. You had something, didn't you, Bob?
I have a couple things. I have something from Joe Ganley. He's over here somewhere. Let me put it on the screen. I'll read it out, okay? And then I can supply it to Walter for the minutes. Or you already got a copy, Walter?
Yes, Bob, I have your copies. Yep, I printed them out. I have them here.
Okay, so let me just, can people see my screen?
See it.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, Bob, that's fancy.
Fancy. I don't know how I get rid of this, but this is from Joe Ganley on C Street. I am writing to submit testimony for the committee's consideration. I'm going to close this. Sorry, just a minute. No, wrong thing. This thing's in the way. Sorry. This didn't happen before.
No, it looks fine, Bob, it looks fine.
Okay, well, not on my screen. I am ready to submit testimony for the committee's consideration in advance of its October 22nd, 2020 meeting. I recognize that the committee has limited time for public comment during the meeting. For that reason, I thought it would be appropriate to submit longer testimony in written form for your consideration. I will plan to attend the meeting virtually and may ask to speak during public comment to summarize or expand briefly on this testimony. My extended family owns 2 properties on C Street. In Harwichport, we first became residents in 1975. So with respect to the noise-related issues that have been subject of discussion in Harwichport over the past several years, it cannot be said that we knew what we were getting into. I will confine my testimony to issues arising from the operations of one particular establishment, the Port Restaurant at 541 Main. While I completely understand that town bylaws and state statutes regulations must universally apply to all licensed establishments, enforcement of these regulations should be specific with respect to particular establishments. Town regulators and advisory committees should understand that the owners of some establishments are respectful of their residential neighbors and work constructively to reduce tensions, while others operate in flagrant disregard of not only local and state regulations, but also any common sense of what it means to be a good neighbor. I appreciate that the Noise Committee has limited scope to address noise-related issues, so I will confine my testimony to those issues, but it's worth noting that the broader nuisance caused by operations at the port has been documented to the boards of selectmen, Harwich Police Department, and so on. Some of this is a bit outside of our purview. With respect to noise specifically, the port routinely operates in flagrant violations of the town's noise bylaw. Discussion at previous committee meetings has focused on the number of complaints regarding noise, and I would submit that residents do not report every violation of the noise bylaw. In fact, we're relatively tolerant, and I go along with that. I think I just keep on to the letter, I'm sorry. This summer, we contacted the Harwich Police 3 or 4 times regarding illegal noise from the port, but we respectfully suggest that the port's operations were in violation of the noise bylaw virtually every Friday and Saturday night all summer. Just so you know, Joe, it operates under the outdoor entertainment license, which is separate, and that's part of the discussion we're having about the plainly audible definition. So some of that is a result of not having a proper plainly audible definition. Back to the letter, the noise violations come not only in the form of loud amplified music, either live or recorded and plainly audible at a distance greater than 150 feet, but perhaps more often in the form of rowdy crowd noise coming from the establishment. This problem was particularly exacerbated this past summer when the port moved its operations almost entirely outside under a tent in the parking lot closer to residential abutters. While I support the town's appropriate accommodations to allow restaurants to expand outdoor seating, noise challenges from the port was not caused by the additional outdoor seating. Instead, it was caused by the fact that the port flagrantly ignored the state's COVID requirements. Those guidelines clearly stated that restaurants could serve alcohol provided it was accompanied by food prepared on the premises. Again, we're getting a little bit out of our bailiwick. It is true that tables at the port were set with appropriate spacing. However, the evening progressed, all social distancing was routinely abandoned. Large crowds gathered together singing happy birthday and chanting or singing along with the band, amplified recorded music. In some instances, cowbells and a megaphone could be heard. And the chief was talking about this earlier, if I heard him correctly. The crowd at the port would typically intensify at 9:30 or 10 with groups of young people unloading from Ubers dressed for a night out. The crowd would not dissipate at 12:30 a.m. or 1 a.m. on the weekends. It is doubtful that many of these patrons were seeking food served on the premises between 9:30 and 1 a.m. And in fact, passerby observed the very example that Governor Baker spoke about when he referred to bars masquerading as restaurants. Finally, it is worth noting that the noise nuisance from the port is not confined to its hours of operation. There's an ongoing issue with noise from rowdy patrons in the neighborhood surrounding the port, and in particular, the parking lot behind the port center. No doubt these issues were amplified this year by the fact that the port closed its parking lot to accommodate its illegal outdoor bar. Every Friday and Saturday evening, this parking lot would fill with patrons headed to the port after the port's outdoor bar had finally emptied out somewhere between 12:30 and 1 a.m. The intoxicated patrons would take their loud conversations to the parking lot. In some instances, they ventured into the backyards of homes adjacent to the parking lot to relieve themselves. When my wife politely asked one of the patrons to please not do so in our yard, the response was, bleep, lady. Sounds like the kind of comment coming from someone out for a nice meal prepared on premises. The issues associated with this establishment have been long running and well documented. My family has owned our property since before the port existed, and we support the commercial nature of the Route 28 corridor. Nevertheless, we are dealing with an establishment that's a public nuisance and has expressed no willingness to work with residents to address their needs. As residents, we will continue to report license violations in the appropriate venues and call the police when the noise and public drunkenness becomes unbearable. But I would suggest that the situation requires a higher level of involvement by the appropriate state and local licensing authorities. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I would, of course, welcome the opportunity to discuss this with you. And that's it. There were two other emails that I got, and they came with videos. One that we are not supposed to be using, but I will mention that I'll just read the text of them because they're pretty interesting. They're short, very short. This is from Joe Ganley again. After listening to the last noise committee meeting hearing on 3/3/20, I was struck by comments made by committee members that it's really too bad we can't do a field trip to hear what is too loud. I go down there for dinner, but just don't know. I would encourage the committee to visit C Street on a Friday or Saturday evening. I'll be happy to host. In the interim, I thought it might be helpful to share some videos, and he gives a link. Let me know if you can view them. 3 of them are taken on the same night, between 9:30 and 10:51. 2 others on, one as late as 12:20 a.m. I could have reported these all summer. I do think they would give members of the committee a sense of the noise levels we're talking about. I sent that out. I guess there was a mistake to send that out. And I also made a mistake sending out, I guess it was supposed to go through the town admin and then get it back for our review. I don't know how that works, but we should follow up with that. And from Mrs. Boulogne, noise committee members, there's a sample of videos that were taken from our home on June 12th. The first is Friday night. Music we heard from an open window, upstairs bedroom. The report said it was from a patron's cell phone at the port. That's where I mentioned that earlier, and I think that's something the live entertainment guidelines will change as of Tuesday, June 16th, but the temporary outdoor dining at the port this year at times rival noise levels of previous years, and that was without outdoor.
Oh, wait, you still there?
I'm still here. I'm trying to figure out how to.
It sounds like somebody doesn't have their mic muted.
I'm looking for it.
All right, while you're looking for whatever you're looking for, I need to address this issue. We are not going to be discussing individual establishments. Because that was correspondence from the public, we can read that and put it into the minutes, but our job is not to just be discussing individual establishments, okay? Does everybody understand? Like, we don't pick on the Ember, the Port, Perks, everything. It's going to be a general type of discussion unless it's public comment. Okay?
Yes.
Got it? Fran?
Yep, I'm saying yes.
Okay, great. Just need to hear everybody say that. All right, Bob, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to put that in there. Bob, are you done? Did we lose Bob?
It flashed across that Bob left.
I'm done. I'm Marcia. I couldn't figure out how to unshare my screen, so I shut down. I left. I'm coming back, so I'll be back in a bit.
All right, we'll wait for you.
Chief, how many of these you got to go to all the time, these type of Zoom meetings?
All right, I don't know where Bob is. Okay, you back? All right.
I actually practiced sharing my screen before the meeting, but I had a whole different display when I got here, so sorry.
All right, were you finished, or did you have something else?
That was everything I had for from the public.
Okay, I did have one thing, and I will put it into the minutes. I got from Perks. They sent me a a proposal, actually an invoice from Nantucket Sound that they are putting in quite an expensive sound system into their establishment, where all the speakers face inward and they will have total control over the volume and all that type of thing. So I just got it, so I will email it to you, Walter, to put into the minutes. We'll get a copy of it. Marguerite will get a copy.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. I'd like to see it.
I just want to put that out there. Huh?
Could you send it around to everybody so we could see?
Yeah, I'll
That'd be
send it to
great.
everybody.
Sounds phenomenal.
Make sure it gets into the, attached to the minutes, and then, you know, just like the letters that you read, and we'll put them into public record, okay? Bob, you've got noise survey here.
Yeah, you have time for it? I have to share my screen again. Ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute.
Okay. Okay, so can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I did.
Yes.
In 2018, my wife and I had a lot of noise here. We called the police a bunch of times. 2019, we didn't call it. We called the police once, and instead, and this was the year when the noise committee finally was announced. We didn't start until the end of that summer, but noise started going down. I didn't want to call the police anymore, and instead, I wanted to document the kind of noise levels we were seeing. And so I did a survey, and what I did was I go out, it was not a rigorous survey in the least. It's when I felt like it, when I heard noise that bothered me, when, you know, various things happen. And so I go out and I do a tour through the various, through the village. And as I went, if I heard noise, I would record it, an audio notation on my phone, and then much later, I transcribed it into the chart. And so that chart is right here. I don't know how to get rid of this thing.
So, Bob, this was not this summer. This was the prior summer, 2019?
2019, yeah.
Okay.
This summer, this chart would be blank, okay? Except that from crowd noise. Almost. There were some issues in June from the port. Anyway, so you can see how I did it. I jotted down wind if I remembered to do it, and I do this walk through the neighborhoods, and just jot down what I could hear at what address, which I would later figure out the distance. This is really incomplete. Let me show you, because it's only it's 25 days, Memorial Day weekend. The last weekend in June, I was off Cape for a while, and July, a total of 25 days. And you can get a better idea of what was going on when you see the map. So let me just bring up the map. That's in a different picture. And this screen thing is driving me nuts. Okay, here. What's that? Okay, so can everyone still see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we live up. Okay, so a couple things. The individual diamonds, the small diamonds, that's a particular noise incident, a single noise incident reading. The big diamonds with the numbers in them, those were multiples of the noise incidents I recorded. This chart is only for Ember, okay? So this is a really limited chart, okay? The map only shows the data I saw at Ember. And so I would go out and I would walk down here, and I come down through the parking lot, and I check out perks in the port to figure out who was making music there, and what the noise, if it was noisy or not, if there's a male voice or a female voice, I could detect it at a later point. And then I'd walk down through C Street as far as I could hear it, and then come back up. And again, we're talking about Ember here. This is Ember only. Then I come back up and I walk down 28 across here, and go back up Freeman and back around Pleasant, and that was it. So you can see most of the readings are in here. Only a couple, once, maybe twice, did I come down into Woodland and Bayview in that area, just because I was lazy. I didn't feel like doing it. So the thing is, this is a very partial display of what was going on as far as noise in Harwichport in July, or in the summer, because it's only July and a couple other weekends, because it's only Ember, because you don't see any recordings down here, because I didn't record anything in the middle here. If you were to adjust this and include music from the port, you'd get another big circle out here. You include it from Perks, you get another big circle out here with lots of, Perks is much better behaved this year, so I have to give them credit. And if you had the Mad Minnow near where we live, we had, in 2018, they weren't entertaining in, they weren't doing outdoor entertainment in 2019, but in 2018, they certainly were. And yet another big circle here. And so if you add all those together, and you double it to add in August, and you add in Wednesday nights in addition, you fill in the circles in the middle, you get a picture of an awful lot of noise going on. And so I measured all these against the plainly audible definition, the noise bylaw. Sometimes it was much louder than that. So the circles kind of tell a story here. The 150 in the middle, that's what was originally targeted by the public hearing 2016 for use in the entertainment licenses. Because of some bad information, they decided that it wasn't very much different between measuring from the source versus measuring from the boundary, and they were using information based on Perks, which is probably accurate, but the port is 200 feet north to south, which adds a good deal of distance. The Minnow is 300 feet north to south. Both of these had parking lots. Ember's 300 feet north, east to west. And so we end up with this blue circle, which is a circle, not the, Ember is actually more of a triangle. And here's Ember's boundary. So 150 feet is over this way. So I roughed it out as a circle. And beyond that, everything beyond that is outside the limit. And yet, most of those would not be deemed violations. And I'm getting a lot of feedback. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. The thing is, each one of these violations, each one of these incidents, if it were measured under the bylaw, would be considered a nuisance. This is clearly not just 150 feet, not 350 feet, this is close to 500 feet away. And that's an enclosed one. This is 500 feet away. This is 800 feet away. Down, if you look down here, we were driving around and we went out to the harbor, the Witchmere Wharf. And this was actually recorded to the east of this. It was 1,800 feet away. But here we are at the overlook, at the Witchmere Overlook. We heard from Ember, we heard noise regularly at a distance of close to 1,200 feet. This is the one time I called the police. We couldn't sleep because of noise from Ember.
Bob, can I interrupt for a moment, please?
Sure.
Bob, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I mean, admittedly, you did this chart in 2019 before some of these establishments started to put barriers around their areas where their musicians were going to be. So I don't think it's really a fair assessment to be putting this out as it is going to be in the future. I mean, certainly there's been changes to how their musicians are situated. And as I said, one establishment is investing quite an expensive piece of equipment to ensure that the music is contained within their business. And I know another establishment has like a 3-sided cubicle type of thing for musicians. So, I mean, this was at the, it looks like at the height of when music was really getting loud and before the committee was established.
Well, this in fact is not at the height. The height was the year before. And it was, and the point is not to say what it was most recently. This is when I did the survey. And it's to show what had happened at that point. This is actually going on the downside. And it also shows the inadequacy of the lack of a plainly audible definition. That does not change. People, whether they have the little creches or the bus stops, whatever they are, whether they have the fanciest noise systems, and I applaud that they're doing that. They can still be excessively noisy. And the point in part here is to record what we were seeing, but it's also to point out that the current policy for enforcing plainly audible was clearly not working, and it still will not be working. And I think that's what we have to address. That's why I keep on harping about it.
I think this map really is pretty cool, and I think it should be included in our packet to the Board of Selectmen. Thank you so much for doing it, Bob, because I know that took a lot of time and effort to do. I'd like to see this included in our packet to the Board of Selectmen. If there is a mediation that takes place, this would be a really good tool for the businesses and the residents to have a look at this too. I'm glad this was 2019, not 2018, which was a little bit quieter. COVID summer is a COVID summer. We know things were different this year. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I think this is a pretty cool map, and thank you for doing it.
Sure.
Absolutely. It's something that can be voted on for our report.
Okay,
Bob,
yes.
Can I say one thing? Bob, you say this is very incomplete?
Yeah.
Right, because obviously you just included Amber, but you said everything is really, is that what you said? It was very incomplete?
It's very much a partial thing because it doesn't include the other outfits. And because I didn't do the full survey down here because I only did it in July. Yeah, it wasn't rigorous. I just took a sample. It's a sample. But rather, it's not. Yep. It's nothing I would. It's very informal. Can I just show you one other thing? And this kind of segues into the next topic, and that's something similar from Nantucket. And what we see here, this is not in the packet, but it's based on a map that is in the packet. I just juggle things around a little bit so you can see. And I was going to go over this a bit when we moved on to the next topic. So I'm kind of segueing right now. So if we look at, this is Nantucket. Someone pointed me to the entertainment license on Nantucket. This is from 2018, and I downloaded 2 or 3 dozen entertainment licenses. Of them, I found 8 with outdoor entertainment. And apparently, the chief had talked with the police, the chief over in Nantucket. He was apparently one of the few places around where they had much outdoor entertainment, and they had problems there. But on closer look, at least on these, I don't know if this is a complete set of outdoor entertainment, but at least these, it's pretty clear that Nantucket has their arms around this problem in a way that we don't. I just got a note from my wife. Walter, the spreadsheet has other information on the other establishments. They just didn't get into a map.
Correct. That's what I mean. I saw the spreadsheet, but this map. So the map is incomplete, but your spreadsheet is complete. Is that what you're saying?
Right. The spreadsheet is complete as far as those days. I actually have some more information on my phone that I didn't transcribe, and I'm not going to get to that ever. Hopefully.
Okay.
Anyway, here are the outdoor entertainment licenses that I came across in 2018 for Nantucket. I've tried to find it again back in the Nantucket website. I cannot. I tried to find it in 2019. I cannot. In 2020, I cannot. I haven't actually talked to anyone there, but I think this gives us a satisfactory or enough of a glimpse at what they're doing. So the number one is the Breeze Bar. This is at the Nantucket Hotel Resort. And this is like one of the top hotels. It gets rated the top 5 in the country sometimes. They have, I've never been there, but they apparently have an outdoor cafe. And if you look at their license, which is included in the packet, they have karaoke and all this sort of stuff, but that's for their indoor, apparently. What they don't have amplified outdoor entertainment. So this picture,
Hold on, one question, Bob, sorry to interrupt. Just one question regarding that. Are you saying no amplified live music? So they don't have any radios on or sound system?
This is just from what I took from the license. I don't know what actually is implemented. This is what's in the license. This is direct, should be more or less a direct quote from the license. Maybe shortened to fit into this square. But they have no amplified outdoor entertainment. So you can imagine that the circle around this is the green circle, the 150-foot circle, I'm guessing. Nantucket Prime, this is at the Jared Coffin House. I used to live on Nantucket like 40 years ago, I'm embarrassed to admit. And it was a stodgy place then. I think it's still the stodgiest place on the island today. But it's a fancy joint, and they have instrumental music. It doesn't say not amplified. They have a jazz duo or trio, but it's basically like going to the Cape Sea Grill and imagine what kind of music you'd have at the Cape Sea Grill. And so they have amplification allowed, but it's going to be kind of quiet stuff just because of the nature of the place. So I'm guessing that's not a big circle around there. Languedoc is off.
Can I interrupt? This meeting is until 8 o'clock.
Okay. Well, so the other. Okay, so anyway, the upshot.
It's shutting down at 8.
Okay, so the point here is that each one of these, this one, and this one are all fairly high end, and they're very small regions of loudness. This one's on the water. It has non-amplified music. This one has a huge tent on top of it, a semi-permanent tent. This one has some conditions, but the idea here, and this one's out in the water, and this one's 3 miles out of town at Barrett Farms, the Cisco Brewers. So what you see, if you look at this more closely, we have a little more time, you would see that these are all probably in this green area, maybe some of them kind of in this blue area, but none of them would be out in this area. And we are far from normal in this. Hopefully we can get to what they've got here or something in between, but that's where we kind of are. And I just wanted to, this is where we are.
Even in your green area, most of the complaints come from in the green area around Harwich, don't they?
I don't believe so, because I complain an awful lot, and I was way out here.
Oh. Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to, do you want to hear about the variable condition licenses?
That was in the packet.
Right.
You had that. We got that a while ago. I think Fran got it. Is that the same licensing things?
No, I wrote this up last week.
Oh, it's the one you wrote. Okay.
Yeah.
But hey, Angela, Bob, it's, we've had a lot of citizens that have been with us since 6 o'clock. We know we can't get through this whole agenda tonight. We're going to need another meeting. And Angela, I think it'd be really nice to spend we've only got 20 minutes left for public comment.
Yeah, that's fine with me, but let's come up with a date first for our next meeting.
I'd like to make sure that if possible that Cindy and Heather can be in. So maybe you should get some possible dates from them and then send them to the rest of the committee.
Yes. Heather has got, she's going to be out of town. It all depends too I don't have the date when we have to present to the Board of Selectmen yet either.
That's not on the Selectmen's calendar yet?
I haven't heard from the office yet. They're supposed to send me some information on it.
Well, I think we're probably already on there. Are we not already on there? We're not on their calendar?
I can't do anything next week. So I'll see what's available through Danielle for dates and for Heather and that type of thing.
get back to us from after Danielle's given you some dates.
Pretty much is everybody pretty much open for evening, but no Mondays? And Fran, did you have a problem with Tuesdays or something?
Tuesdays and night, I can't do it.
Okay, all right, just so I know. All right. All right. Let me just get back to the agenda here.
We lost Bob unless he came back.
He's here. I got him. Was this recorded music after 10? Was that yours, Bob?
I think that was, no, I think that was Walter's.
Oh, that was me. Yeah, that was on the last meeting. I had proposed that. Under the current bylaw, there is no outside music allowed after the end of the license, from after 10 or before when the license starts.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was if we could allow it, but it can't go back to the old bylaw. They can have it, but it can't exceed the premises boundary, you know?
Yeah.
Because if it's not written if they don't not allowed to do it, they could be on a violation just by having it on, even though you can't hear it.
Okay.
That was all.
Right.
It was just some sort of backstop or whatever. Like they could have a TV on and watching this, you know, the Patriots game or whatever, the Red Sox, and be in violation if it's out.
I think that's an excellent point. I think that's a great point, Walter, because it's definitely a gray area that, like, if there's a Red Sox game late night that people are trying to watch and it's not affecting anyone, I don't know why you couldn't have the game on or whatnot, especially with a couple establishments that, you know, people go because they can watch a TV outside or, yeah, I think that's a good point.
So the objections I've heard to watching a TV game outside is that, you know, someone gets a double play or a home run or, you know, some big exciting moment and the crowd goes wild.
Well, I promise they would be cheering whether or not they heard the announcer say anything. That's for sure.
Well, that's partly the reason.
No, there was a problem last year in 2019 with the World Cup being on, and there was a cowbell at one place, and that was unintended. And now that I think they know that they can't do that, not that I went to any place this year because I didn't, except on a couple occasions. I don't think that's an issue. I think it's just as background music, really, not loud, just background. I mean, if it can't exceed the premises and they get a violation, that's different, sure. Write them up for it because you can hear it.
All right, can we move this forward? I just want to have some people weigh in. We've got about 15 minutes to do that. Let's see, issues list and report to BOS. I think we do have an issues list going on already. And our report to the BOS, we will table. We'll just bring that up for discussion at our next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Walter?
Yes.
That makes sense to you? Jay?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Bob?
Yes.
Because we do want, I know a few people want to speak, and this is going to step down at 8. So would you like to open it to public comment?
Yes.
Committee? Fran?
Yes.
Jay? All right, so who would like to speak first? Kind of make it brief so everybody that wants to say something can have their voice heard. Joe, you're the one that wrote the very insightful.
No, I'd like to speak, and I have to say, I mean, in a 2-hour public meeting, allowing 20 minutes for public comments, I think is frankly outrageous. So,
Well, can we move forward from that?
I'm sorry, I'm not off my thoughts.
What you have going on.
I think it's outrageous to offer 20 minutes out of 2 hours for public comment for residents. And I would say that what I've heard tonight during the course of this discussion gives me absolutely zero confidence that this committee is going to deal with these issues in the town the way they should. I mean, we're talking about nuances of what standard we should use for noise and, you know, who should call the police, when they should call the police, and what the right, you know, punishment should be for establishment. I mean, I've submitted a video testimony to this committee from my front yard that should shock the conscience of anyone who believes in a balance between commercial businesses and residential property rights. And the response that I've heard back indirectly has been, well, we don't deal with individual businesses. Well, I'm here to tell you that at the last committee meeting of this committee in March, it was said, we're trending in the right direction. I'm here to tell you that this past summer, the noise issues on C Street were as bad, if not worse, and probably worse than they've ever been, which resulted in multiple calls to the police, which the chief does not want and is not a good use of their resources. But what are we supposed to do when you have a rowdy, crowded outdoor bar full of drunken revelers who then pour out of the bar and roam into the parking lot next door to your house or into your front yard, relieving themselves at will? What are you supposed to do other than call the police? We have no choice. The chief is nodding. I see him nodding. We have no choice. What are we supposed to do? And we've got a noise committee that's been active for a year, and so far as I can tell, has made no recommendations for any policy change at the town level. There's no standard for what is appropriate for noise. And we're talking about noise, and the committee has been talking about amplified music. Amplified music is not the problem. If you look at those videos, the problem is screaming drunken revelers, screaming at the top of their lungs. I don't care about music, honestly.
No, thank you, Mr. Gannon. No, we're to address these issues, and I don't appreciate you taking the board down. If you'd like to volunteer for a board, please sign up. We're doing our best. We are residents here. We are not attorneys. We're not, that type of thing. We are trying our best, okay? I feel for you. I saw your videos, and quite frankly, yes, they're very disturbing. I will give you that. But I don't appreciate you taking down the board members that you did. Right? It's not fair. We put, year into this. We're trying to work on it, but this is where we are.
Question, what do you recommend we do? You asked at the last board meeting of this committee, you said yourself, I would like to go down there and hear what it's like. I go to dinner and then I leave and I don't really necessarily know exactly what it's like. I submitted videos that show you what it's like at 12:20 in the morning when
and I did refer them on to our liaison
and 10-year-olds are trying to sleep. And no one from this committee has ever reached out to me to say, what's it like? Can we come over to your house?
On to the town administrator. And that's the process we have to go through. Volunteer citizen board. I'm not argue with you. I'm absolutely not here to argue with you at one bit. I'd like to hear from other people that would like to have some input. I feel for you.
No, hold on a second.
It's been forwarded, and that's as far as I can go.
Hold on. Who's speaking now? I should make sure I get the.
Something's
who was
happening
speaking?
here.
I make sure I can get the.
I don't know.
Pardon?
By the way,
that was me, but something just happened here.
So this.
Mr. Gannon's not here, coming in like fuzzy.
Oh, this is Mr. Okay, this is Mr. Gannon speaking. Okay.
Mr. Gannon.
I got to write it down in minutes.
Sorry, Walter.
Well, that's okay. I just want to make sure
I don't know what's
write your
going
name
on
down.
here.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and sorry, just as an aside, I mean, we're talking about a summer where restaurants were supposed to be serving alcohol only with food prepared on premises. The port which is directly across the street from my house, ran an outdoor illegal, by COVID regulations, bar where there was drunken revelry until 1 o'clock in the morning.
That is not within our purview, Mr. Ganley. That is the
Selectmen, I reported it to the Harwich Health Department. I reported it to anybody I could think of reporting it to, including the Harwich Police, and no one did anything.
Well, what would you like a citizen board to do for you? What would you like? We are not a regulatory board. Do you understand that? We are a citizen group that is trying. If you are more than welcome to try and join the board, or the committee, if you'd like.
It's a fair question. It's a fair question. I would like you to pretend that noise issues not pretend that noise issues have alleviated or are trending in the right direction or are resolved, because they are not. My neighbors on C Street do not think that the noise issues associated with these licensed establishments are solved or trending in the right direction, or that the owners of these establishments are interested in being good neighbors. They're not. They're not. They are.
You reported your issue. We don't, as I've said to you, we are not a regulatory board. There is nothing we can do specifically to your case. Period.
I appreciate that.
It's not their advisement, it's in the minutes, and it's been recorded. That's what we can do for you.
The assumptions that have been discussed in this committee have been, number one, that it's all about music. It's not. It's about drunken revelers screaming and yelling and causing noise. Number two, it's been that the assumption has been that the business establishments are interested in doing the right thing. I don't agree. I think they're not. I think they are interested in furthering, their business model as far as they can possibly go. And if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, right? So I think those two assumptions are fundamentally wrong. And I think if this committee is offering recommendations to the Board of Selectmen based on those assumptions, I think those assumptions are wrong. We had police at our house in our front yard several times this summer. And you know what they said? Yeah, we agree with you. It's outrageous, but there's nothing we can do. That's not right.
Angela, can I say something?
Please.
Joe, I'm not in the office tomorrow. Can you reach out to me on Monday and I'll tell you what was done, because you've been correct when you say nothing did anything.
No, I shouldn't say nothing was done. I'm sure there were reports filed.
There's things that I'm not going to say on this public meeting that I can discuss with you as far as what was done and what's going on. So
Sure.
please have me on Monday.
I will. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Angela, can I make another suggestion for Mr. Ganley? And that is that maybe he could send to the committee what he might see as recommendations that we send to the Board of Selectmen.
Sure. We'd like to do that. It's fine. This is a public committee.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten any input from residents in terms.
I'd be happy to do that. I mean, an obvious example, a very obvious example, and this is not the problem of the licensed establishment necessarily, but we live adjacent to the port and we live adjacent to the parking lot behind the Port Center. And I've talked about this and I submitted it in my written testimony. The drunk revelers who pour out of the port into that parking lot at night make a considerable amount of noise. So much so that local residents have contemplated hiring a police detail at their own expense to sit in that parking lot and direct revelers who come out of the port to move along or get in their car or whatever. That's, as I understand it, it's like $300 for every 4 hours or whatever, according to the research we've conducted with the police department. But like, should we have to do that?
Well, that could actually be a recommendation that should establishments stay open that late, is that they provide that type of security On their dollar, not yours.
Absolutely. And
So
furthermore,
that's a positive recommendation to put forward, and we will put it into the minutes and discuss
I'm
it.
happy to recommend specific recommendations. Furthermore, I would say to you that I completely understand the efforts that the town has made to expand outdoor dining for restaurants during the COVID pandemic. Completely makes sense. Completely supportive of that, right? That said, the port has been engaged in a long multi-year effort to extend themselves beyond an indoor fine dining restaurant to a rowdy, crowded outdoor bar. And so if you asked me, should the Sea Grill be able to have a patio? Absolutely. Should the hot stove be able to have a couple of extra outdoor seating? Absolutely. No problem. They're great neighbors, right? They do right by us. Should the port be able to operate a rowdy outdoor bar in their parking lot while directing all of their parking traffic to the parking that it abuts a residential neighborhood? Absolutely not. And I will, expend any resources, whatever necessary with my neighbors to oppose that at the Board of Selectmen level or wherever, whatever the appropriate jurisdiction is. But
All right.
this was the worst summer ever in 10 years, despite COVID.
Yeah, that's that.
Thank you
Angela,
for your comments. There was one other woman at the beginning that wanted to say something.
it was Mary, but I think she left if she didn't come back.
Oh, okay, all right.
I don't know.
wanted to make sure she got heard.
Find out if she's still there. Mary, are you still there?
Can I say one thing, Angela?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so Joe, I think what the committee's done, in fairness to committee, we have, prior to the pandemic year, the problems were entertainment related, the music related. And that's what we had a lot of problems elsewhere in town other than just on C Street. And some of your neighbors probably went through a fair amount of noise from entertainment. But with the pandemic, things changed. They put the tent out in the parking lot, and we have a whole different scene now. So we haven't, in fairness to committee, we haven't really addressed those things yet. And we haven't talked to each other since February. I don't think. We haven't been in meetings.
I get that. I get that. Totally agree. And I would say that what's interesting is that you have establishments who are appreciative of the town's accommodations during COVID to expand their outdoor footprint in order to expand their capacity, in order to increase revenue, in order to keep the business afloat. And then you have an establishment like the port, frankly, which has taken advantage of that and has said, oh, okay, you've allowed us to operate outdoors. We're going to operate a rowdy, crowded outdoor COVID bar with no social distancing and no masks and no food. And we're going to be crazy loud. And that behavior ought not to be rewarded. It ought to be, objected to. And I guess from a committee standpoint, Angela, to your point about looking at these things holistically, what I would say is that it's ridiculous to think that all businesses are equal. There are businesses that are good neighbors that want to coexist in a mixed commercial residential neighborhood. And then there are businesses that frankly, and pardon my language,
Let me cut you off right there. That my charge from our selectman liaison, individual businesses, and that's why it becomes a holistic type of situation. Was what was told to me by our liaison from the board of selectmen. That whatever our recommendations are.
We're going to have a conversation about
So I
noise.
don't really want to argue with you about that. I'm just telling you that's what it is.
I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking the question. We're going to have a conversation about noise, but not ask the question about which individual.
In about 2 minutes.
Ask the question about which individual businesses are causing the noise.
No, we're supposed to be holistic. I just had that conversation today with.
Well, yeah, but Angela, we have to talk.
You can go to them. Pardon?
That's a joke. That's a joke.
Well, thank you for volunteering, and I don't.
About who's making the noise?
What's that?
Angela,
Yes.
Angela, because our time is almost up, our next meeting, can we please start with listening to residents and public comments? Because this was, you know, we run out of time. We've only heard from one resident. So can you please start the next meeting and let the public have some input.
Clear ground. I mean, if we're going to talk about noise, let's talk about the places that are causing the noise.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not, that was not our instruction.
Well,
so we're going to talk about noise generically?
Yeah, that's what I was told. I mean, what do you know, that's what I was told today.
well, we always have talked about individual establishments. You even told us about Perks and the good things that Perks is doing.
Well, that was because it came to me in written form. So
Yeah,
you're going to get the minutes.
Yeah.
And that's what Bob could read in those two letters, or that letter from Mr. Ganley about the board. I mean, I know it doesn't. I'm just telling you what I'm being told. If someone wants to take over, that's fine. But that's
We
what I've
always
been
talk.
told. So,
Well, we always have to. It's a little.
Noise, but we're not going to talk about the source of the noise.
Can you let these people? Can you let the folks know that our next meeting, the public is going to have a good chance to talk first?
But we need to shorten our agenda also.
Put the public comment first.
Into 2 hours.
You know what I'd like for next time in the community is to put together some type of, what we want to move forward with for the Board of Selectmen. And then we can shorten our agenda so we can have more public comment.
Let's put the public comment first. We don't know when the board is, we might still have, 2 more months to work on our recommendations to the board. I hope so. Let's make it beginning of December.
All right, so I'll get in touch with Heather and get a meeting set up for not next week, but maybe the following week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Move to close this meeting. Second, Walter, Bob, Fran.
Second.
Yeah, second, Angela, so I couldn't hear you.
All right, thank you. All right.
Thanks, Angela. Okay, bye.
Thanks,
Bye, Fran.
Angela.
Bye,
Bye.
Bob. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Walter, you have a good summer?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah. Oh, hey, Joe. You're Joe?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing, Walter?
Good, how
I
are
was
you?
going to call you tomorrow after I heard what you said there. I was
I'm
going
not
to call you
gonna-
tomorrow because.
I'm really not.
No.